that? Is it alive? It's trying to run away. Kill it! I'll get you eventually. Knight's Cavalry. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Is that because I've been abusing this? Please, leave me alone.
You there? Could you help us out, Cully?
Today I will be giving my impressions of a game from a relatively unknown developer, which I'm told threatens to become its own genre of video games, though I can't imagine why. Blatantly obvious and likely annoying sarcasm aside, yes, you read the title of this video correctly. This is my first plunge into a From Software title in the Soulsborne games. And yes, observant viewers, that means I have in fact been living under a rock for over a decade. Fear not, I have crawled into the light, praise the sun, and will give my impressions of Elden Ring similar to a caveman discovering the power of fire. With character creation, you get what are effectively classes to start with, though it doesn't appear to be a rigid class system once you're actually in game, considering the leveling system it has. It has a great variety of starting options with varying difficulties and, for some reason, deliberately avoiding the use of more traditional class names, such as the totally a knight, definitely a barbarian, and whatever the hell this is, and also what appears to be the man in the iron mask class. That really doesn't look comfortable. Otherwise, you have a reasonable visual customization system, which, as is the custom with games like these, I wasted a good 30 minutes on each of the characters' appearances, only to more or less remain like the default with slight changes, and then to proceed to wear a helmet the entire time, therefore defeating the whole purpose of those 30 minutes. Though thank God this game has a hide helmet feature. Ah crap. Going into Elden Ring, I was aware that From Software had their own way of telling stories, and straight away I understood what a lot of people had told me in the past. From the onset, I like that you feel like you're being dropped into what feels like a mythological style story where the fabric of the world is changing, or that a cataclysmic event has occurred or is occurring, and you must find your way through it, piecing together little tidbits of information and garnering your own understanding as you go. Of course, I'm barely a few hours in with both my playthroughs currently, and yet I can say that I love the environmental storytelling at work here, as though you speak to a few characters here and there, even at this point, the story seems to be more subtle and invites you to build up a picture of the world and its mythology. Nay, I would say it's more of a tapestry, as it seems more appropriate given that the thing that came to mind when I first stepped out of the tutorial area and looked around was it looked like a Norman tapestry. It is interesting how the distant vistas, with the right mix of vibrant and gloomy weathers that roll in, invoke a feeling of adventure into the unknown, and I look forward to seeing where this all goes and what stories await in the distant ruins of a world that seems to be ending, and also find out what's going on with that damn tree that taunts me with a mystery unsolved no matter where I am on the map. It goes without saying that despite having not experienced the Soulsborne games by From Software before, I have regardless seen countless forum and Reddit threads about many other games, with the discussion of Souls-like mechanics and gameplay, and whether to include them, and comparisons. I personally played a few myself, such as with Skyrim, mod-wise that is, Because bless Elder Scrolls, but you are not known for your riveting combat systems. Anyway, the thing I learnt from those cases is that the Souls style gameplay focuses on making movement and action meaningful with consequence. And for what I've played here, this is definitely the case, as every encounter, no matter how challenging, because of the game's design, encourages players to respect positioning and spatial awareness, as it's not just raw stats like many RPG games that matter, though they do have an effect, but how the world is designed to have plenty of traps, hidden enemies, and little things in the environment that can help or hinder the player is at the core here. That is, despite the memes around Get Good or the difficulty of Soulsborne games I've heard over the years, I don't think that, and this may seem controversial, I don't feel like this game is actually that punishing or hard. Rather, from what I've played, the classic die, die, then die again saying of the developers of these games actually holds some meaning for how I view this game. That is, my impression here is that the game, and I presume its predecessors, is about teaching players how to play and how to grow as a player. That is, the game is not too hand-holdy, but leaves enough bits of information, tools, and deliberately leaves enough of a safety net that I actually thought to myself after dying the first few times, and many times after, that this game is quite forgiving to the player. That is, at the core of this setup is the spawning or respawning. You fight a fight, losing and then going back to recover what was lost. The safety net is then back in place to allow you to die again, as I felt. Why not sacrifice myself to these fancy golden knights again? Here is another interesting example of where environmental risk and exploration in this case comes to the fore, as I wanted to see if this was a secret entrance to a dungeon or something, and the game, mercifully, when I inevitably died from the fall, places my runes within reach rather than in the pit. Again, it said to me at this point when I was playing this that the game is at least encouraging me to take risks, but is not trying to be horrible and punishing to me. Another example also is when I went and walked straight into this little trap with this chest here, having falsely assumed it was possibly like a D&D style mimic, which I am aware exists in Souls games, yet then it ported me to another area. After my panic had subsided, I worked out what was going on, died a few times, but again, the designers carefully made it so the reaction times of the dangerous foe in this area was not too quick, therefore allowing the player to collect their runes and attempt an escape from this trap, which eventually, after running for my life, I did so. Then is when I was greeted by this nightmare. Yet, with a respawn behind me, I collected myself and soldiered on. This is where what I assume is an unleveled world in this game comes into play. The developers wanted this area to be something different from the first area that you can port from, made sure not to make the area overly punishing or difficult, and the enemies and hazards are a fresh and new thing and have their own challenges, but nothing too much for even a noob like me. Of course, that didn't stop me from getting torn apart by ravenous mutant dogs. Succumb to some kind of infection, and then whatever this dragon just did to me. Yet with all of these, I didn't feel cheated. I either lost track of my stamina use, got in bad position, went where I really shouldn't yet, or wasn't careful enough. It was really all my fault. I could have avoided these things, but curiosity got the better of me, and that's at the core of my impression of the first few hours, is that the game rewards and encourages curiosity and experimentation through its combat, gameplay and exploration. The game doesn't demand that you play a certain way or even get great at it immediately. It cordially asks you to learn as your character learns, and that to me is a valuable thing in an industry dominated by linear and simplified game design. Right, time to wrap this up so I can get back to dying in new and interesting ways. So my impression is that I am intrigued by this game and the inevitable addiction to From Software titles that I am currently forming, and that I want to see how far the design elements I mentioned go, as then I can make the also inevitable 4-hour video or something about this game in the future. That is, my focused critique and discussion won't be for ages, as this game is 50 to 100 hours long. That is, if How Long to Beat is to be believed. So I will probably be devoid of social contact for a few months as a result. So yeah, my impression of this obscure game is that it is passable and worth another 100+ hours of my time, as I savour the pain and suffering it brings. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and want to be notified of my follow-up Soulsborne game impressions, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Otherwise, have a great day.